This week's Torah portion is Parshas Terumah, and it's the details of God's command to build a tabernacle, a place of prayer, a place of bringing sacrifices, a place of bringing to focus mankind's service of God. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, why is it necessary to build a tabernacle? Why is it necessary to build a mikdash, a house of service of God? Why is this necessary when, in fact, we all know, and it's self-evident, that every person has access to the divinity? Everyone has a godly soul. Everyone has a, we see that God spoke to mankind from the very beginning. He spoke to Adam. He spoke to Noah. He spoke to many people in between. And in each generation, he spoke to people and their prophets. And each one of us has the ability to hear God's voice, and God speaks to each one of us all the time. So the question is, why do we need a tabernacle? Why do we need a place of holy temple, which is the eventual residing place of this holy building, this holy service was in the holy city of Jerusalem? So the answer is that we have to understand that even though we are able and we have implanted in us by God's creating us in his image and then creating us with a divine soul, we have this connection to God, and it's with us all the time, and there's nothing we could do to stop it from being there. It's our natural state. Yet at the same time, there is a significance to not only our soul, but the soul being in time and place. Meaning to say that there is significance to different times, and each day has a rhythm of significance, and each month has a rhythm of significance. Each year has a rhythm of significance of different points in the year. The time itself is significant. The same too with the place. The place is significant. So we see an example of this, even though the Torah was already understood by the great wise men of previous generations, that it says that Shem, the son of Noah, already had the grasp of the Torah, was teaching the Torah, was teaching the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. And Abraham came to Shem, and he told him that he was willing to accept upon himself the entire Torah. And this is something that was available already to those who wanted to listen and wanted to take it. Yet God Almighty chose that it was necessary to gather all the Jews that had left Egypt and all the people that had come in the company of the Jewish people, and announce to them in a one time and one place, in a concentrated moment of focus, both in time and place, and of the souls all together, to bring them all together to be able to deliver 10 commandments and deliver the Torah on Mount Sinai. And that was simultaneously translated into 70 languages, as it's explained in the Talmud, that God's voice was heard in 70 languages for all the nations to understand the 10 commandments simultaneously with their giving. So we see that there's a concept of concentration of the souls all coming together. There's a concentration of time and a concentration of space, and they all come together for a focal point of the service of God Almighty. And the same thing is, and we can see that Yisro, the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our teacher, Jethro, his father-in-law of Moses, himself realized it wasn't enough for him to know the greatness of God, but he himself had to come to be in this time and place with these other people, with the Jewish people, to be able to be there present for the giving of the Torah. So that by way of background is the concept of building a tabernacle, of building a holy sanctuary for God Almighty. While it's true that we do have access to God at all times and all places, and God is always is infinitely tolerant and forgiving and constantly forgiving us, and we have atonement, and we have now prayer that substitutes for the sacrifices. But ultimately, God's intention is, as we see from this week's parsha and the Torah portions of this time of the Torah readings in this section of the book of Exodus, is that God's intention is that there should be a focal point in time and space, that people should come to a place, and that place is necessary in order to be of service to other people. That in my own experience of God Almighty, I can have an experience that I can hear God's voice, I can listen to God's instructions, and so forth. But to make a coming together as a focal point is a focal point of the tabernacle is to be of service to other people. And therefore, the Jewish people were charged with the responsibility to build the tabernacle to be a focal point, that it would become a house of prayer. That God Almighty says, my house will be a house of prayer for all the nations. That this is the concept of making a place that even though God is found everywhere, God is found everywhere equally all the time. So there's no place that God is more found than any other place. But there's a concentrated awareness and revelation of godliness in this place that is called the tabernacle when it was traveling in the desert, and then it became the holy temple in Jerusalem. And it's necessary, God has decided, it's necessary that we can't we're not just all a bunch of floating, loose states of consciousness that we all can plug into the divine consciousness and the universal consciousness and whatever you want to call it, this divine consciousness of God Almighty. But it's necessary to bring it down to the physicality of the world, where people will come together in an experience of coming together as souls coming together in a time and in a place to be of service to God Almighty, but also it's of service to each other, because in the Jewish people bringing the service in the temple, and the tribe of Levi, that was the tribe that was charged with the service in the temple, both in terms of transporting it and the actual service of the priestly family, the Kohanim, the children of Aaron, the high priest, and his offspring, that their job is to actually do the service in the temple, that is of service to the entire world. This focal point becomes we're not just thinking about ourselves. Am I plugged in? Am I having a great experience? Am I connected? Am I experiencing all that the spirituality and life that's possible? But now I'm going to put my effort at God's command into building a place that will be a blessing for the entire world, be a blessing for the entire humanity, that the house will become a house of prayer for all of humanity, that the animal sacrifices that are brought in order to refine man, in order to bring man, to draw man closer to God Almighty, will be not only for the benefit of the person who's actually doing the work of bringing the sacrifice, but he's bringing it on behalf of his entire family, on behalf of the entire Jewish people, and on behalf of the entire world. That we see that in the yearly cycle of the sacrifices and the service of the temple, there were services that were specifically for the benefit and the blessing of the entire world. And the entire process of building the light that will shine forth from the temple is for the benefit of the world. That we see that the menorah, the candelabra, for example, that it was built in a way that the windows of the temple were built that the light should shine outwards. They were narrower on the inside and more expansive on the outside, that the light should shine outwards. King Solomon built an additional 10 menorahs in order that they should represent the 70 nations, that the light should shine and reach every single man, woman, and child in creation. So this, therefore, is the purpose why there's so much detail in the Torah about going into building this temple, building this tabernacle. Because while it says, you should build for me a temple and I will dwell in it, in them, and each one of the Jewish people and each one of the people who makes his place a sanctuary for God. But that is true, and God is found in each one of us. But still, there's a higher level of intention here that it should be brought together into a place of focused concentration. And that's why we build synagogues in each place. And that is meant to be a place where we come together, the souls come together in time and place to focus our service of God Almighty. Each one of these is called a miniature temple. And the non-Jews are also meant to experience the ability to come to such a place and experience it as a house of prayer for God Almighty, that it's a house of prayer for all the nations. And ultimately, to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, where there will be this focus that all of humanity is able to come and will come, as it says in the prophets, that all of humanity will come, that it's necessary as part of the service of God. There has to be communal gathering of humanity, both on the local level in the local synagogues and on the global level in coming to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, that's a necessary experience for each person to be part of such a gathering. And it's necessary to come to a specific place in a specific time. And that brings about God's fulfillment to creating a dir b'tachtonim, a dwelling place in this lower world and this lowest world, that not only is godliness everywhere, but it's done in a way that it becomes a coordinated, focused expression of godliness that then radiates out to every single person in the world. With the coming of Mashiach, may it be now. And you should have a good Shabbos. as we enter into the month of Adar, also, we can remember that there's nothing more joyous than to contemplate this and to recognize that this is something that's imminent, and we have the gift of being able to bring this into reality. Rabbi Chirik, would you like to add something?
Just good Shabbos to everybody, and Mishenichnas Adar Marvin Simcha. It's now a time to add in happiness, and it's a time that when we have issues with others, which may be causing problems now, this is a auspicious time to pray and succeed in those issues.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, we're in a tremendously, as we're preparing for Purim, we have 60 days, the month of Adar. Then we can make use of the time. We were saying earlier, the whole concept that there are times, there is significance to the times. Every day is a day like every other day on one level, and every day has the exact same potential on one level, but on another level, every day has a unique quality that has a special blessing and a giving of strength to be able to focus on different aspects of our lives and bring those into focus and into influence not only that day but the rest of the year, and particularly in the month of Adar, the concept of joy, that we're able to bring joy into each one of these days in an increasing manner that then affects the rest of the year, that our whole year is filled with joy, and all the negative things become turned into, we see the positive, and we see a positive an expansion of hope and joy into every person around us, and until ultimately it reaches every man, woman, and child, God willing. Good Shabbos.
Now, just a moment before we are done. You are here because you are like me, not satisfied with the condition of the world and the Jewish people, objecting to the direction that confused people are running in, and intent on seeing God Almighty's vision for the world fulfilled. Torah is a manual for action, and we are taking action. At rabbismith.org, we have one goal: to connect every man, woman, and child with God Almighty. This is the only way forward, and that includes you. rabbismith.org has 2 tracks, one for non-Jews and one for Jews. My job is to help point you to the truth, that not only is the divine spark in you bursting out, but you have loving responsibility to those around you, and they will thrive from your clarity and your orientation. Now, join at rabbismith.org. We have new initiatives starting. We have just started a weekly class, Amunah, Faith in Action, to shepherd our faith and learn how to shepherd the faith of those around us. Videos, audios, materials, and newsletters. But most importantly, a relationship. The relationship of one person wanting the best for another and taking action to make that happen. At rabbismith.org, I will be asking you to make a personal undertaking to share what you learn with others and to spread the message of hope to every person, and to make a small daily contribution to support our joint vision and mission. Join us as we get the world on track for Mashiach, for redemption, and make it unfold. Enroll at rabbismith.org, and I will see you there.